So welcome to the People's Court. You know, we're going to be putting Mark Butler on trial, the Georgia Labor Commissioner.
Oh God, we come right now on behalf of the 64,000 workers, Georgia school workers, oh God, that you would be their guide and their judge, oh Lord. That you would mete out the truth and justice to them, oh God, for the things that they have had taken away from them.
All right, folks, so this is our panel of judges that today we'll be hearing different sides of the story, like I've mentioned before. And to introduce the charges and give a little bit more of the information as to why we are here today, we have our very own prosecutor.
Come before you on behalf of the people of Georgia to bring charges against Mark Butler. The case against the commissioner is simple. After 30 years of precedent, Defendant Butler unilaterally made a decision to reinterpret Georgia's long-standing qualifications for payment of earned unemployment benefits. It was not the fault of workers that the state decided to borrow money from the federal government to cover the shortfall instead of going back to the companies. It was not the fault of workers that the state did not adequately plan to pay back the federal loan. And although it's admittedly a daunting task to pay eligible workers their due and to pay back the loan, but that does not absolve Defendant Butler from acting lawfully in the performance of his duties. And most recently, the commissioner chose to ignore the directive of the U.S. Department of Labor. He was told he was unlawfully administering a combination federal and state program. He was told that he should not only reverse his do not pay decision, but also that he should retroactively pay workers their due. In some fair judges, you will be hearing expert witnesses who will give the details of all the things that we just talked about and will provide more information on the commissioner's unlawful actions. You'll be hearing worker testimony about the undeserved hardship that he has caused for them and their families. And you'll be hearing testimony about the commissioner conspiring to develop the scheme to make employee victims pay the bill that should have been sent to their employers.
So after hearing all of this, I want the audience to take a look at an empty chair. This is the representation of how much this commissioner cares. If he had cared, he would be here today. If he had cared, he would have done the right thing. And this is the representation. And this shows where Mark Butler's intentions are. And so with that, I want to introduce Charmaine, that's going to be reading the statement from our very own invisible man, Mark Butler.
Georgia Department of Labor rules must comply with existing law. To effectively serve as stewards of unemployment tax money, the rule regarding summertime unemployment benefits had to be changed. Teachers were not previously allowed to receive unemployment insurance benefits during regularly scheduled breaks in work. Non-teaching educational employees, such as school bus drivers, cafeteria workers, crossing guards, must be treated the same as all other educational employees, such as teachers, substitute teachers, and administrators. An educational worker unemployed during a summer or customary break with reasonable insurance to return to the same or similar job for the next school term is not entitled to benefits.
So now we are going to be hearing testimony from the workers whom have been affected today and will continue to be affected. This isn't just about summer pay or not summer pay. This is about our families being under attack and how we today are standing up and saying enough. So if I could get each worker to introduce themselves, give their names, along with where they're coming from and the testimony of their impact. Could I get Olivia Curry to please stand? Give a round of applause. Okay. So as Olivia makes her way down, we are going to be hearing testimony from folks today that are going to be talking about how this decision has impacted them. And I think that it's important to recognize that they have traveled from long ways. They have obviously left family behind to be here with us today. So let's give her a warm round of applause as she makes her way down.
Good morning, everybody. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Roger Sykes for inviting us here from Columbus, Georgia. My name is Olivia Curry, and I'm from Columbus, Georgia. I work for Taylor Motors, and this is my 3rd year working as a bus driver there. The first 2 years I was paid unemployment pay, and it was a shocker for this past layoff that we did not receive unemployment pay. And I would like to just talk about the hardships of some of my coworkers. I feel that me is being blessed in a way that it didn't affect me as harsh as it did my other coworkers. I'm here to represent some of them because they could not be here because of their mental state. Some of them have really, this is the truth, some of them had to go to the hospital because of anxiety. You had some that homes was repossessed, the cars was repossessed, and this is the God's truth. They could not be here because as of this moment, I'm not going to call any names, but she's one of my coworkers. She's being moved into a home with her daughter, which is still not a good environment for her to be in, but she didn't have anywhere to go. During the times that from May 24th was the last day of school bus drivers, up until August the 7th, we've had to rely, my coworkers had to rely on social networking, going to food banks, going get food stamps and all of this. I mean, it was just indignified because they were able to take care of all of their business, all of their bills, due to the employment that they received during the time that they was not working during the layoff.
I've been feeling real small. It made me feel like I've been out working all these years for nothing this past year, not receiving unemployment. It has been a disgrace. Mr. Butler needs to have a conscience of how he's doing people that's not receiving, that's cutting off these people's unemployment. It is not fair.
It is my understanding that we are entitled by law to those benefits. Why then was this decision made to deny us of unemployment compensation? We are really hurting. Some of my coworkers have expressed that they have lost their utilities. One of my coworkers is now in a shelter, and she has the responsibility of her 5 grandchildren, so she is really hurting. I don't understand why it happened. I have received it for 6 years, and this 7th year I couldn't get it. It's just not fair. We're really suffering, so I hope that this decision will be rescinded. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Up next, we have Ms. Belinda Miles. And once again, thank you all for being here, and thank you for the speakers for having the courage to stand up here and talk about how this has affected their lives.
Hello, my name is Belinda Miles, and I'm a Georgia pre-K teacher. I want you just to imagine for 1 second Miss Belinda sitting in front of 22 smiling faces, looking up at me one morning in morning group and says, Miss Belinda, what are we going to talk about today? I said, well, we're going to talk about our summer vacation. Miss Belinda, how did you spend your summer vacation? Well, I spent my summer with the letter B. Beans. Beans start with the letter B. Because like 64,000 other Georgians, this is all we could afford to eat. Bills, Comcast Georgia Power, rent, mortgage, the gas company, student loans, borrow. I had to use that word so much
that until my name became borrowed instead of Belinda.
It is my understanding that Mark Butler is only one labor commissioner that has been elected in the United States. He's the only one that is elected. This is sad to think that we elected Mark Butler. Now we have to get him out of there. You're seeing what he has done.
Obviously, in the vast legal experience of Commissioner Butler, who never went to law school or has a law degree or graduated anything, has decided that after 30 years, Georgia's unemployment policy needed changing. That agency, the U.S. Department of Labor, which Butler said we're in conflict with, wrote him a letter. And in that letter, the Department of Labor said, and I quote, "For at least 30 years, it has been clear that while some educational workers may find temporary work over the summer, those private sector educational employees who do not and whose employers have paid into the unemployment system are eligible for unemployment benefits." It further goes on at the end of a letter to say, Section 301A of the Social Security Act requires that state law provide for such methods of administration as are found by the Secretary of Labor to be reasonably calculated to ensure the full payment of unemployment compensation when due. And since, as we explained above, there is not a valid statutory basis in Georgia law for regulations applying between and within terms, denying provisions to individuals in the employ of private employers. Since there is no adequate statutory basis for such a provision, please cease administering this regulatory policy and change immediately. Thank you, Secretary of Labor Hilda Solis. The letter then eventually winds up by saying, please respond to this letter in writing within 30 days of receipt to inform us of the actions the Georgia DOL will take to ensure that state law conforms to the requirements of federal and state unemployment.